Close your eyes. Take one slow breath in, and let it fall away. You are not in a room anymore. You are not held by walls or ceilings or the quiet hum of the world you know. You are somewhere else now, somewhere vast, somewhere achingly still, somewhere that has no edges and no end. You are drifting, weightless and warm, suspended in the velvet dark between everything and nothing. This is space. Not the space of textbooks or classroom posters. Not the space of blinking satellites or neat diagrams with dotted orbital lines. This is the real thing. The raw, incomprehensible, breathtaking truth of what lies beyond the thin blue skin of atmosphere that wraps our little world. This is space as it truly exists, ancient beyond counting, silent beyond measure, beautiful in a way that has no word in any human language spoken across the entire history of this earth. Let your body grow heavy now. Let your shoulders sink. Let your jaw loosen, your hands open, your breath slow to something deep and easy and natural. You don't have to hold anything tonight. You don't have to carry anything. Everything you set down before you closed your eyes, it can wait. It will wait. Right now, there is only this. Right now, there is only the dark and the stars and the impossible, humbling journey that is about to begin. Because tonight, we are going somewhere. Not metaphorically. Not in the vague, comfortable way that meditation sometimes promises a journey and delivers only a gentle walk through an imagined forest. No. Tonight, we are going somewhere real. Somewhere that exists right now, at this very moment, as you breathe and drift and let the tension leave your body. It is out there, burning, ancient, patient, waiting at a distance so tremendous that the human mind was simply never built to hold it all at once. Tonight, we are going to Proxima Centauri. Say it slowly if you like. Let it move through you. Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our sun, our nearest neighbor in this overwhelming ocean of light and dark. And yet, neighbor is perhaps the cruelest word in all of astronomy. Because Proxima Centauri sits 4.24 light-years away from the warmth of our solar system. 4.24 light-years. That means if you could somehow harness light itself, the fastest thing that has ever existed or will ever exist in this universe, moving at 186,000 miles every single second, it would still take 4 years and nearly 3 months for even that light to complete the crossing. Hold that for a moment. Light, racing at 186,000 miles per second, needs more than 4 years to reach the star we call our closest neighbor. The beam of sunlight that touched your skin last afternoon took only 8 minutes to travel from the sun to Earth. To Proxima, that same beam would travel, and travel, and travel, through cold, through silence, through the absolute emptiness of interstellar space, for over 4 years before it ever arrived. And we are going to make that trip tonight. Not in a spacecraft with flashing controls and the engineered roar of combustion. We are going slowly, intentionally, the way deep sleep moves, unhurried, unforced, dissolving one layer at a time into something deeper and more still. We are going to drift outward from the Earth, past the moon's pale and cratered face, past the rust and silence of Mars, out beyond the gas giants with their swirling storms and golden rings, out past the frozen frontier of our solar system where the sun finally dwindles to something that looks like just another bright star among thousands, and then we will keep going. Into the between. Into the long, unlit corridor of interstellar space, where there are no landmarks, no waypoints, no familiar shapes to anchor the eye or steady the heart. Just the dark. Just the motion. Just the slow, hypnotic crossing of a distance that has no comparison in any experience a human body has ever known. Breathe in. Breathe out. Feel how still you are becoming. Feel how the edges of your physical self are softening now, the boundary between you and the dark growing less certain, less rigid, less important. This is how the journey begins. Not with a countdown. Not with a jolt of acceleration or the mechanical thunder of engines igniting beneath you. It begins the way all true departures begin, quietly, from the inside, with a willingness to let go of the known and lean, gently, into the unknown. We are still close to Earth right now. Still near enough that if you were to turn and look behind you, you would see her, blue and white and heart-stoppingly beautiful against the absolute black. There is nothing else like her in the known universe. Not a single confirmed world in all the thousands of exoplanets catalogued by human telescopes that wears that particular shade of ocean blue, that particular swirl of living cloud. She is singular. She is home. And she is, very slowly, beginning to shrink. Watch her if you like. There is no grief in this departure, only wonder. The kind of wonder that fills the chest like warm light and leaves no room for fear or worry or the small, persistent noise of daily life. Just wonder. Pure and quiet and expanding, the way space itself is expanding, in every direction at once, without effort, without end. The moon passes on your left. She is larger than she ever looks from the ground, her surface a landscape of ancient violence, craters carved by collisions that happened before the first living thing drew breath on Earth. The moon is roughly 4.5 billion years old. She formed when a body roughly the size of Mars struck our young planet with such catastrophic force that debris was flung into orbit, and over time, that debris gathered itself, the way matter always does, into something coherent and round and enduring. She has been circling us ever since. Silent guardian, keeper of tides. And now she is behind you, growing smaller, her pale light folding back into the dark like a dimming lantern. Breathe slowly. There is no rush here. There will never be any rush here. The universe does not rush. Stars take millions of years to be born, collapsing slowly from vast clouds of hydrogen gas, pressure building grain by grain, degree by degree, until the core ignites and something new blazes into being. Galaxies take billions of years to form, to collide, to merge, to settle. Time out here is not measured in minutes or deadlines or the anxious forward lean of a busy life. Time out here is geological, astronomical. A kind of time so deep and slow it begins to feel less like the ticking of a clock and more like the breathing of something immeasurably large and calm. And you are moving through it now. Mars is somewhere to your right, a dim, rust-colored point of light that carries within its frozen soil the memory of ancient rivers, ancient lakes, perhaps even the ancient possibility of life. Scientists have found evidence of liquid water that once flowed across its surface billions of years ago, cutting valleys and filling basins beneath a thicker, warmer atmosphere than the thin, cold ghost of air that clings to it now. Mars was once something more. It became something quieter. It endures. Everything out here endures in its own way. The asteroid belt is ahead, not the dense, chaotic wall of rock that science fiction so often imagines, but something far more spacious and subtle. Millions of rocky and metallic bodies, yes, but spread across such an enormous volume of space that if you were to pass through it, which you are now, slowly, peacefully, you would likely see nothing but stars. The distances between even neighboring asteroids are measured in hundreds of thousands of miles. Space is not crowded. Space is the opposite of crowded. Space is the purest expression of distance and silence that this universe has ever conceived. Let that settle into you. Let the silence of it move through your chest, down through your arms, into the tips of your fingers. Space is not something that presses against you. It does not crowd or rush or demand. It simply opens, and opens, and opens again. Every direction you turn, it offers more of itself, more dark, more distance, more of that profound, ancient quiet that has existed since long before there was any ear to hear it or any mind to name it. Your breathing is slower now. Good. Let it slow a little more. There is nothing to monitor, nothing to manage, nothing to remember. The only thing happening right now is the journey, and the journey asks nothing of you except presence. Soft, unhurried, half-dreaming presence. Jupiter is coming. Even from this distance, there is something unmistakable about it, a brightness that is not quite like starlight, a warmth of color that your eye finds before your mind has named it. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, so large that all the other planets combined could fit inside it with room remaining. Its diameter spans nearly 89,000 miles. Its great storm, that swirling amber and cream tempest known as the Great Red Spot, has been raging continuously for at least 350 years, possibly far longer, a storm so vast that the entire Earth could be swallowed within it and lost. And yet, from where you drift now, Jupiter is simply a lantern in the dark. Beautiful, remote, unhurried in its enormity, as all truly enormous things tend to be. It takes Jupiter nearly 12 Earth years to complete a single orbit around the Sun 12 years. A child born on the day Jupiter began its current journey around our star would be approaching adolescence before that journey was finished. The giant planets live on a timescale that makes human life feel brief and bright and flickering, like a candle flame in a cathedral. Let your eyes grow heavy. You don't need to hold them open out here. There is nothing you can miss. The journey continues whether you watch or whether you rest, whether you are fully awake to every detail or whether you let yourself soften and blur at the edges and drift into that warm middle place between waking and sleep. That place is not absence. It is not blankness. It is one of the most exquisite states the human mind can inhabit, that twilight country where the body is still and the thoughts are loose and luminous and slow-moving, like bioluminescent creatures drifting in a deep, dark sea. Let yourself go there now, if you feel the pull. Past Jupiter, the solar wind begins to thin. The sun, which at Earth's distance delivers warmth and light with such familiar generosity, is fading behind you now, not disappearing, not yet, but diminishing in a way that is unmistakable and strange. It is becoming what it truly is, seen from a distance, a star. Just a star. Brilliant still, yes, the brightest object in your sky by an enormous margin, but a star nonetheless, stripped of its planetary dominance, returned to its cosmic context. One among hundreds of billions in this galaxy alone. Saturn appears to your left, and even at this distance, even in this dim and distant light, the rings are visible. Of course they are visible. They are one of the most improbable structures in the solar system. A vast, flat disk of ice and rock orbiting a gas giant, stretching outward for hundreds of thousands of miles, yet in most places no thicker than a 12-story building. They are ancient debris, the shattered remnants of moons, of comets, of icy bodies that wandered too close to Saturn's immense gravity and were torn apart, reduced to particles, and arranged by orbital mechanics into something that looks, against all expectation, like art. Like deliberate, breathtaking art. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it gently for just a moment, and release it slowly, all the way out, until your lungs are soft and empty and still. Good. That is exactly right. You are doing beautifully. Your body knows how to do this. It has always known. The breath that moves through you right now is the same fundamental process that has sustained human life for hundreds of thousands of years, the same rhythm that rocked our earliest ancestors into sleep beneath skies that were, if anything, even more brilliant and untouched than the ones we know today. You are ancient in this way. You are part of something unbroken and continuous and deeply, deeply calm. Saturn is behind you now. It slips away the way all beautiful things slip away when you are moving, not suddenly, not with any drama, but gradually, the rings tilting and narrowing as the angle changes until they appear as little more than a thin line bisecting that pale golden sphere, and then less than that, and then simply a point of soft amber light among the other points of light, and then part of the general glittering and nothing more. You carry the memory of it with you. That is enough. That is more than enough. The outer solar system has a quality of silence that is different from the silence closer to the sun. It is deeper, more settled. The solar wind, that constant outflow of charged particles streaming from our star in all directions, has weakened considerably by now, spread thin across the immensity of the distance it has traveled, diluted to a whisper of its former intensity. Out here, the radiation environment is quieter. The electromagnetic noise that fills the inner solar system has faded to something barely above nothing. If silence had a texture, it would feel like this, not empty exactly, but profoundly, restfully undisturbed. Uranus drifts past in the blue distance. Not the blue of Earth's oceans, something cooler, more remote, a blue-green that belongs entirely to itself, tinted by methane in its thick, cold atmosphere. Uranus is unusual even among the unusual. It rotates on its side, tilted at nearly 98 degrees relative to its orbital plane, so that its poles point roughly toward the Sun rather than its equator. Astronomers believe this extreme tilt was caused by a massive collision early in the solar system's history. Another enormous impact, another moment of catastrophic violence that became, over billions of years, simply the way things are. The wound became the nature. The disruption became the orbit. There is something quietly reassuring in that, if you let yourself feel it. Neptune is the last of the giants. The farthest of the traditional planets, a deep and extraordinary blue, this color generated by that same methane atmosphere, but somehow more saturated, more intense than Uranus, more jewel-like against the surrounding dark. Neptune has winds that reach 2,100 kilometers per hour, the fastest planetary winds recorded anywhere in the solar system. A storm that moves faster than the speed of sound on Earth, howling across a planet 4 times the diameter of our own, in a place so remote from the Sun that it receives roughly 900 times less sunlight than Earth does. 900 times less. Neptune's daylight is something we would experience as deep, cold twilight, enough to cast a faint shadow, perhaps, but barely enough to read by, barely enough to feel. And yet Neptune is vivid. Neptune is alive with motion and color and weather. It insists on existing dramatically even at the farthest edge of the family it barely belongs to. You are past it now, or nearly past it. The boundary is not a line you can see. There are no signs, no markers, no change in the visual texture of the dark. But you can feel the threshold approaching in the way you feel the shift in a room when something fundamental changes. The Sun is smaller now. Noticeably smaller. Still the anchor of everything you have traveled through, still the gravitational heartbeat around which 8 planets and countless smaller bodies endlessly circle, but small enough now that something inside you registers the difference, and that registration is not fear. It is not loneliness. It is something closer to awe, a quiet, expansive, chest-opening awe that has no urgency in it, no anxiety, only the clean recognition of scale. Of how large this all truly is. Of how small and perfect and improbable our little world is, hanging in the warmth of a star that is itself just one among hundreds of billions, in a galaxy that is itself just one among hundreds of billions more. Let that thought move through you like a slow wave. Don't try to hold it or fully comprehend it. The mind was not built to fully comprehend it, and that is perfectly fine. You can hold it lightly. The way you hold a dream in the first moments after waking, aware of it, touched by it, not needing to translate it into something logical or contained. Some truths are meant to be felt rather than understood. The scale of the universe is one of those truths. It is not a problem to be solved. It is a landscape to be inhabited, slowly, with wonder and with rest. You are approaching the Kuiper Belt now. Beyond Neptune, beginning at roughly 30 astronomical units from the Sun and extending outward to perhaps 50, lies this vast, donut-shaped region of the solar system populated by icy bodies, dwarf planets, and frozen remnants of the solar system's formation. 1 astronomical unit is the average distance from the Earth to the Sun, approximately 93 million miles. So the Kuiper Belt begins 30 times that distance from the Sun and stretches even farther still. Pluto lives here. Beloved, demoted, enduring Pluto, a world of nitrogen ice plains and mountain ranges of water ice rising 3,000 meters above its surface, with a thin atmosphere that expands when its elliptical orbit carries it closer to the Sun and freezes and falls back to the ground like snow when it retreats again. Pluto has a heart. Quite literally. A vast, pale, nitrogen ice plain in the rough shape of a heart, informally named Tombaugh Regio after the young astronomer Clyde Tombaugh, who first discovered Pluto in 1930. When the New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto in July of 2015, the first human-made object to visit that distant world, it sent back images that stopped the scientific community and the general public alike in their tracks. A heart. At the edge of the solar system. Pale and enormous and unmistakable, painted on the face of a frozen world that no human eye had ever seen in detail before that moment. Let your own heart feel that. The universe offers these moments sometimes. Small, strange, tender coincidences of shape and meaning that feel like something more than accident even when the rational mind knows better. A heart on Pluto. A ring system so thin and precise it resembles deliberate art. A moon formed from catastrophic collision that now governs our ocean tides and lights our darkest nights. The universe is not trying to tell us something, and yet it keeps arranging itself into forms that feel, to these pattern-seeking minds of ours, like messages. You are through the Kuiper Belt now, or beginning to be. The icy bodies thin out as you move beyond 50 astronomical units. The Sun is a very bright star now, still by far the brightest in your sky, still clearly the center and gravity of everything you have passed through, but a star in the way that all stars are stars, a point of light, a source of warmth measured now in fractions and degrees rather than in the full, generous flood of energy that bathes the Earth on a summer afternoon. The cold here is profound. Not the cold of a winter night or an open freezer or even the highest, thinnest reaches of Earth's atmosphere. This is the cold of deep space, a temperature hovering just a few degrees above absolute zero, that theoretical floor below which no temperature can fall, the point at which molecular motion itself nearly ceases. 2.7 degrees Kelvin is the temperature of the cosmic microwave background radiation that fills all of space, the faint, lingering thermal echo of the Big Bang itself, still present everywhere, a whisper of the moment. When everything began, that warmth, if you can call 2.7 degrees above absolute zero warmth, is the oldest thing you will ever be surrounded by. Older than any star. Older than any galaxy. Older than any structure in the observable universe. It is the leftover glow of creation itself, spread uniformly across all of space, a blanket woven from the first light that ever existed, now cooled and stretched and quieted by 13.8 billion years of cosmic expansion into something barely above nothing. You are wrapped in it right now. Let that be a comfort rather than a cold fact. You are surrounded by the oldest light in existence. It touches you from every direction equally, this faint thermal whisper of the beginning, and there is something in that, something that the rational mind cannot fully articulate but the resting, dreaming body somehow understands, that feels like belonging. Like being held by something so vast and so ancient that the concepts of alone and together lose their meaning entirely. Breathe slowly. The Oort cloud is ahead of you now, or rather, you are beginning to enter the long approach to it, because the Oort cloud does not begin sharply, does not announce itself with any visible boundary or sudden change in the texture of the dark. It is theoretical in some ways still, inferred rather than directly observed, a vast spherical shell of icy bodies that astronomers believe surrounds the solar system at distances ranging from roughly 2,000 astronomical units at its inner edge to perhaps 100,000 astronomical units or even farther at its outer reaches. 100,000 times the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Pause with that number. 100,000 astronomical units. Each astronomical unit is 93 million miles. The Oort cloud, if it exists as theorized, and the evidence strongly suggests it does, extends to distances so remote from the Sun that the journey from its outer edge to our star would take light itself more than a year and a half to complete. Objects in the Oort cloud are so loosely bound by the Sun's gravity that the gravitational nudge of a passing star, or the subtle tidal forces of the Milky Way galaxy itself, can be enough to dislodge them from their ancient orbits and send them falling inward on long, slow trajectories that eventually bring them through the inner solar system as comets. Those bright, tailed visitors that have awed and frightened human beings throughout recorded history. Some of them have been traveling toward us for millions of years, dislodged from the Oort cloud by the gentlest of gravitational whispers, falling through the dark on journeys that began before our species existed. There is something deeply meditative about that. A comet beginning its journey toward the Sun in the Oort cloud before the first Homo sapiens stood upright on the African savanna, traveling in silence and cold through the interstellar dark for millions of years, finally arriving in the inner solar system just in time for human eyes to see it blaze across the sky and record it in stone and clay and eventually in digital images shared across a global network. The universe has its own timing. Its own unhurried, magnificent scheduling. Things arrive when they arrive. Things unfold when they unfold. There is no forcing and no rushing and no anxiety in the orbital mechanics of the cosmos. Only the long, patient arc of gravity. Only the slow, inevitable fall toward warmth. Your body knows this kind of patience too. It is practicing it right now, in the steady rhythm of your breathing, in the gradual release of every muscle you have been carrying tensed without realizing. Feel your legs now. Feel how heavy they have become, not uncomfortably heavy, but pleasantly so, the way a warm blanket becomes part of you on a cold night, the weight of it a reassurance rather than a burden. Let your legs be heavy. Let your hips sink. Let the small of your back soften against whatever surface holds you, and feel that surface holding you completely, firmly, without any effort on your part at all. You are held. You have always been held. By gravity, by atmosphere, by the electromagnetic forces that keep every atom of your body coherent and together, by the nuclear forces that keep those atoms from simply dissolving into the void. You are held together by forces so fundamental, so precise in their calibration, that physicists sometimes speak of them with something approaching reverence. The strong nuclear force, binding the protons and neutrons in every atomic nucleus in your body, is so finely tuned that if it were even fractionally stronger or weaker, atoms as we know them could not exist. Stars could not burn. Chemistry could not happen. Life could not arise. The universe is not indifferent to your existence in the way that phrase is sometimes meant. The universe is, in its physical constants and its fundamental forces, precisely the kind of place where something like you becomes possible. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything. Rest in that for a moment. You are not an accident in a cold and random cosmos. You are an expression of it. A particular and unrepeatable arrangement of atoms that were forged in the hearts of stars that lived and died before our sun was born. The iron in your blood was made in a supernova. The calcium in your bones was assembled in stellar cores. The oxygen that moves through your lungs with every slow breath you take was released into space by dying stars long before our solar system existed. You are not separate from the universe looking out at it. You are the universe, looking at itself, wondering at itself, drifting through itself in a state of deep and healing rest. Let that be the last waking thought, if thoughts are still moving through you. Let it slow and soften and lose its edges the way all thoughts eventually do when the body grows heavy enough and the breath grows slow enough and the dark grows welcoming enough. You are deep in the approach to the Oort cloud now. The sun is behind you, brilliant still, the brightest point in a sky filled with thousands of brilliant points, but no longer the overwhelming, defining presence it was. Out here, the stars begin to assert themselves more equally. The hierarchy of brightness that governs the inner solar system, where the sun drowns out everything else in the daytime sky and rules even the night with reflected light from planets and moon, that hierarchy has dissolved. Out here, every star makes its case on equal terms. Every point of light is its own sun, its own center, its own ancient furnace burning through its fuel at its own particular rate and temperature and color. And there, ahead of you, so far ahead that calling it ahead feels almost absurd, because the distance remaining is so much greater than the distance already traveled that the word barely applies, there is a reddish point of light that is slightly, almost imperceptibly, warmer in tone than the blue-white brilliance of the stars surrounding it. That is Proxima Centauri, your destination, your anchor in this vast and velvet dark. A red dwarf star, the smallest and coolest category of true star, burning at a surface temperature of roughly 3,000 degrees Kelvin, compared to our Sun's 5,500 degrees. It is so dim, relative to our Sun, that despite being the closest star to our solar system, it cannot be seen at all with the naked human eye from Earth. You need a telescope to find it. You need to know precisely where to look. It hides in plain sight among the stars of the southern constellation Centaurus, invisible to the unaided eye, present for billions of years before any instrument existed to reveal it. It was only discovered in 1915 by the Scottish astronomer Robert Innes, working at the Union Observatory in Johannesburg, South Africa. For all of human history before that year, all the centuries of stargazing, all the mythology and navigation and careful celestial observation, our nearest stellar neighbor went completely unnoticed. Invisible, patient, burning its slow, cool fire in the dark while human beings looked past it at brighter, more distant things. There is a lesson in that patient invisibility, if you want one. The closest thing is not always the most obvious thing. The nearest source of light does not always announce itself with brilliance and fanfare. Sometimes it simply burns, quietly, steadily, without need for recognition or audience. It simply does what it is, fusing hydrogen into helium in its core, releasing energy at a rate so measured and so conservative that it will continue doing exactly this for another 4 trillion years. 4 trillion years. Our Sun, by comparison, has a remaining lifespan of roughly 5 billion years, itself a number that staggers the imagination, but Proxima Centauri will outlive our Sun by a factor so large that 5 billion years begins to seem like a brief and flickering moment. Red dwarf stars are the tortoises of the cosmos. Unhurried, enduring, burning low and long while the brighter, hotter stars exhaust themselves in billions rather than trillions of years. Let your breath match that patience. Long, low, unhurried, in through the nose, a slow and gentle tide coming in, out through the mouth, or simply out through the nose again if that feels more natural, a tide going out. There is no correct way to breathe in this moment. There is only the breath that your body finds when you stop managing it and simply allow it. That breath, the one your body chooses when you release control, is always slower than the one you were holding before. Always softer. Always more honest about what you actually need. What you need is rest. What you need is exactly this: the dark, the drift, the slow and widening distance from everything that asks something of you. And the journey is providing it. The journey has been providing it since the moment you closed your eyes and let your breath fall and agreed, wordlessly and completely, to go somewhere vast and still and ancient enough to make the noise of ordinary life recede into something very small and very far away. You are beyond the Oort cloud now. or you are deep within it, it is difficult to say, because the Oort cloud is not a wall or a surface but a diffuse and enormous presence, a population of icy bodies so spread across such incomprehensible volume that the average distance between any two of them is measured in tens of millions of miles. You could pass through the Oort cloud for years without ever coming close enough to one of its members to see it clearly. They are out there in the dark, these ancient icy travelers, some of them as large as mountains, some smaller than houses, all of them coated in a dark, complex layer of organic compounds built up over billions of years of exposure to cosmic radiation. Frozen, patient, waiting for a gravitational whisper that may never come, or may come tomorrow in cosmic terms, which is to say sometime in the next million years. The interstellar medium begins here. Or rather, it has been present all along. The thin, diffuse gas and dust that fills the space between star systems, never truly empty, never truly full, a ghostly substrate of hydrogen atoms and helium atoms and trace amounts of heavier elements and microscopic dust grains, all of it moving with the slow currents of the galaxy, all of it part of the raw material from which new stars and new planets will eventually be assembled billions of years from now, in stellar nurseries that do not yet exist. You are swimming through the raw material of future worlds. Think of that, softly, without effort. Every atom you pass through on this journey, every hydrogen atom drifting alone in the interstellar dark, is a potential ingredient in a star that has not yet been born, a planet that has not yet formed, an ocean that has not yet filled, a shore that no living thing has yet stood upon and watched the light of a new sun touch the water for the first time. The universe is not finished. It is nowhere near finished. It is, by some estimates, only in the very early stages of its star-forming life. Most of the stars that will ever exist have not yet been born. We arrived early, in cosmic terms. We are here, conscious and wondering and capable of making this journey in imagination and in rest, at a remarkably early moment in the universe's long unfolding. 13.8 billion years sounds ancient, and it is ancient, incomprehensibly so, and yet the universe is expected to continue existing for timescales that make 13.8 billion years seem like the very first breath of a life that will last for an eternity. The stelliferous era, the age of stars, will continue for roughly 100 trillion years before the last red dwarf finally exhausts its fuel and fades. And after that, there will be the degenerate era, when white dwarfs and neutron stars and black holes slowly cool and decay across timescales measured in numbers that have no meaningful name in ordinary language. And after that, timescales longer still. The universe has barely introduced itself. And here you are, present for the introduction. Here you are, awake or nearly asleep, which at this depth of rest amounts to something very similar, in this particular window of cosmic time, on this particular world, breathing this particular air, drifting through this particular darkness toward this particular small red star. The specificity of your existence is staggering when you hold it this way. Not the specificity of your name or your circumstances or the details of your daily life. Those feel very small out here, and they are meant to, but the specificity of your being here at all. Conscious, breathing, capable of wonder. That is extraordinary. That is, by any honest accounting, the most extraordinary thing in the observable universe, and we carry it so lightly, so habitually, that most moments of most days it goes completely unremarked. The capacity for wonder. The ability to lie still in the dark and travel in imagination to the edge of the solar system and beyond, to feel the scale of the cosmos in the chest like a deep and resonant chord, to be moved by the patience of a red dwarf star that cannot even be seen with the naked eye. This is what consciousness does. This is what you do, simply by being awake and open and present to the dark. Rest now. Rest a little deeper. Feel your breath arriving without your instruction, leaving without your permission, sustaining you without your effort. Feel your heartbeat, slow, steady, reliable, moving through your chest and your throat and the tips of your fingers with that same unhurried rhythm it has maintained every moment of your life, sleeping and waking, through every ordinary and extraordinary thing you have ever lived through. Your heart has never asked you for anything. It simply continues. It simply persists. Like Proxima Centauri burning its quiet fire in the dark, your heart is a small, steadfast furnace that has been keeping you warm and alive without recognition or applause since long before you were old enough to know it was there. Thank it, if you like. Silently. In whatever language gratitude takes in the wordless country you are drifting toward. The stars around you are changing now, subtly, slowly, in the way that a landscape changes when you have traveled far enough in one direction that the familiar landmarks have fallen away and new ones are beginning to assert themselves. The constellations that human beings have named and navigated by for thousands of years, Orion, Ursa Major, Cassiopeia, the Southern Cross, they are still present, but their shapes are shifting. Even the relatively small distance you have traveled, measured in fractions of a light year, is enough to produce a detectable change in the apparent positions of nearby stars relative to more distant ones. This effect is called parallax, the same principle that gives your two eyes slightly different perspectives on the world, allowing your brain to construct depth from the difference. The universe has depth, unimaginable depth. Layer upon layer upon layer of distance, each layer populated with its own stars and its own systems and its own possibilities, receding into a dark so profound that even the most powerful telescopes ever built can only penetrate so far before the light becomes too faint, too stretched, too ancient to resolve into anything more than a faint statistical smear across a sensor. Beyond that limit, the universe continues. It continues in all directions, without pause, without boundary, without any obligation to make itself comprehensible to the minds that contemplate it. And there is a profound freedom in that. The universe does not need to be understood to be beautiful. It does not need to be mapped or measured or named to be real. It simply is, in its fullness and its darkness and its extraordinary accidental generosity toward the fragile, luminous things that have arisen within it and begun, tentatively, to look around. You are one of those things. Drifting now. Deeply, peacefully drifting. The boundary between your body and the surrounding dark has grown soft and permeable, and that is exactly right. That is exactly where you want to be, in that borderland where the self becomes less insistent, where the usual architecture of worry and plan and memory loosens its grip and allows something quieter and more essential to rise. That quiet essential thing has no name that fully captures it. Different traditions have called it different things across different centuries and different cultures. But you know it when you feel it. You are feeling it now. That deep okayness. That fundamental rightness beneath all the surface noise of a life. That still, small, unshakable sense that, at the very bottom of everything, you are fine. You are held. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Proxima Centauri is growing slowly, incrementally brighter ahead of you. Not dramatically. Nothing out here happens dramatically. Everything happens on the long, slow timescale of the cosmos, but perceptibly, in the way that a destination becomes real when you have been traveling long enough that the distance has begun to meaningfully close. It is still an enormous distance away. You have been traveling across the void for what feels, in the dreaming logic of this journey, like a long and beautiful stretch of time, and yet the interstellar crossing is so vast that Proxima is still, in any practical sense, far away. Light years away. The kind of away that has no human equivalent. But it is closer than it was. And there is something in that, in the simple, unhurried fact of progress across an impossible distance, that carries its own particular peace. You do not need to arrive. Arrival is not the point. The crossing is the point. The being in motion through the dark is the point. The slow accumulation of distance between yourself and everything familiar, and the slow approach toward something ancient and cool and quietly burning, that is the whole of it. That is everything. Around you, the interstellar medium continues its ghostly presence. Those lone hydrogen atoms, 1 per cubic centimeter on average in the regions between stars, drifting in a darkness so complete that they may travel for millions of years without colliding with another atom. Loneliness, at the atomic scale, is absolute and apparently perfectly sustainable. Those hydrogen atoms do not suffer their isolation. They simply exist within it, patient and complete, until gravity or chemistry or some cosmic event draws them into relationship with something else and they become, together, something more than they were alone. Molecules form in the cold of interstellar space. This was once considered impossible. The radiation environment seemed too hostile, the densities too low, the temperatures too cold for chemistry to occur. But astronomers have now identified over 200 distinct molecular species in interstellar space, including some of the basic building blocks of organic chemistry. Formaldehyde, ethanol, glycine, possibly, amino acids, the fundamental units of protein, drifting in the cold dark between stars. The chemistry of life does not wait for a warm planet to get started. It begins out here, in the void, assembling itself slowly from the available ingredients across timescales that dwarf the entire history of complex life on Earth. Life leans toward existence. That is what the chemistry suggests. That is what the distribution of organic molecules across the interstellar medium whispers, in the patient language of spectroscopy and radio astronomy. Life does not require special permission. It does not require extraordinary conditions. It requires only time and chemistry and the slow, inevitable tendency of complex systems to organize themselves toward greater complexity. Given enough time, given the right ingredients, given the patient accumulation of molecular encounters across billions of years, something stirs. Something organizes. Something crosses the threshold from chemistry into biology, from reaction into response, from matter into meaning. It happened here, on our small blue world, at least once, and possibly, the evidence increasingly suggests, more than once, independently, in different environments at different times. Life on Earth may have had multiple origins. The tree of life may have multiple roots. And if it happened here, in this one corner of one ordinary solar system orbiting one unremarkable star in one spiral arm of one galaxy among hundreds of billions, the logic of probability becomes difficult to argue with. We are probably not alone. Not in the dramatic sense that popular imagination tends toward. Not the blinking lights of craft descending through cloud cover, not the transmission received and decoded and broadcast on every screen simultaneously. More quietly than that. More humbly. In the way that a forest is not alone because it contains more than one kind of tree, life, wherever it exists, is likely modest and microscopic and ancient and persistent, clinging to the available energy in the available chemistry with the same tenacious, unhurried insistence that the earliest life on Earth demonstrated in the hydrothermal vents and the shallow tidal pools and the dark, pressurized depths of a very young ocean. And Proxima Centauri has a planet. Let that settle into you with the slowness it deserves. Proxima Centauri b, discovered in 2016, confirmed through the radial velocity method, the tiny, measurable wobble that a planet's gravity induces in its parent star as it orbits, a wobble so small it requires instruments of extraordinary sensitivity to detect. Proxima Centauri b orbits its star at a distance of roughly 0.05 astronomical units, vastly closer than Mercury orbits our Sun, completing a full orbit in just 11.2 Earth days. But because Proxima Centauri is so much cooler and dimmer than our Sun, that close orbit places Proxima b within the habitable zone, the range of distances from a star within which liquid water could theoretically exist on a planetary surface. The habitable zone. The Goldilocks zone, as it is sometimes called. Not too hot, not too cold. Just right for the chemistry of life as we understand it, which is admittedly the only kind of life we have any direct experience of, and may not be the only kind the universe has found. Proxima b may have liquid water. Proxima b may have an atmosphere. Proxima b may have, on some rocky shoreline beneath the dim red light of its ancient star, something that stirs. We do not know. We cannot yet know. The instruments required to answer that question with any certainty do not yet exist, though they are being designed and proposed and dreamed toward by astronomers who have dedicated their lives to exactly this question. The James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful observatory humanity has ever placed in space, is beginning to probe the atmospheres of exoplanets, looking for the chemical signatures that biology leaves behind, the oxygen and methane and water vapor that, in certain combinations, suggest something living is producing and maintaining them. Proxima b is a target. It is on the list. The question is being asked, by instruments made of human ingenuity and launched from our small blue world into the dark, in the direction of a red star that for most of human history no one even knew was there. The question floats outward from Earth at the speed of light. The answer, if there is one, waits. And you are drifting toward it now, slowly, in the deep rest of a body that has finally, fully released the day. Feel that release. Feel how far you have come from the room, from the noise, from the accumulated weight of being a person in a world that asks so much and moves so fast. Feel how far behind all of that is now, how small and distant and manageable it has become from this vantage, this enormous, starlit, quietly breathing vantage where the only sound is the sound of your own breath, moving in and out with the slow oceanic rhythm of a body that has remembered, at last, how to simply be. Not do. Not plan. Not solve or manage or anticipate. Simply be. Simply breathe. Simply drift through this vast and ancient dark toward a small red star that has been burning patiently for nearly 7 billion years, almost half again as old as our own sun, which formed a mere 4.6 billion years ago, waiting, perhaps, in its own unhurried way, for something in its vicinity to look up and wonder. 7 billion years. Hold that number the way you would hold something very old and very fragile, gently, with both hands, with the kind of attention that recognizes it cannot be fully understood, only honored. 7 billion years ago, the universe was already ancient by human standards. Our sun did not yet exist. The atoms that would eventually become Earth, become ocean, become atmosphere, become the first living cell, become every creature that has ever lived and breathed and moved across this world, become you, those atoms were scattered across interstellar space, drifting in the cold dark, not yet gathered, not yet warmed, not yet arranged into anything that could be called a world. And Proxima Centauri was already burning, already fusing hydrogen in its core, already casting its dim red light across the space around it, already, in its patient and economical way, doing what it will continue doing for 4 trillion years more. There is something almost parental in that longevity, this small, cool star that has been present through so much of the universe's middle history, that was burning when our solar system was still a diffuse cloud of gas and dust, that will still be burning long after our sun has expanded into a red giant and consumed the inner planets and finally collapsed into a cooling white dwarf. Proxima Centauri will outlast the sun. And yet, for all its age, for all its extraordinary endurance, it is a humble star. Roughly 1/8 the mass of our sun. About 1/7 the diameter. So cool that its light is shifted deep into the red end of the spectrum, into wavelengths that human eyes perceive poorly, bordering on infrared, the kind of light we feel as heat rather than see as color. If you stood on the surface of Proxima b and looked up at your star, assuming an atmosphere and a surface exist there to stand on, you would see something very different from the brilliant white-gold disk of our own Sunday. You would see a larger apparent disk, because despite being dimmer, Proxima is closer to its planet than our sun is to Earth. And it would glow a deep, smoldering red-orange, like an ember, like the last hour of a sunset that never fully ends. Imagine that sky. Imagine standing on dark volcanic rock, perhaps, beneath an atmosphere that may or may not exist, beneath a sky that is perpetually, softly, brokenly red, lit by a star that your eyes, evolved for the light of our own sun, would struggle to read by but could stare at directly without pain. A star that would never quite feel warm enough. A star under which everything would cast a slightly different shadow, everything would carry a slightly different color, everything would exist in a slightly different relationship to light and dark than anything you have ever seen or known. A different world. A real world. Possibly a world with water and rock and chemistry and time, the four ingredients that, on Earth, eventually produced everything else. Possibly a world that has had 7 billion years in which to do what Earth did in 4.6, which means, if the logic of biology is at all universal, that whatever process might have begun there had considerably more time than we did to develop, to complexify, to become something. Or it is a bare and airless rock, battered by the frequent intense flares that red dwarf stars are known to produce, its surface scoured by radiation, its potential atmosphere long since stripped away by the stellar wind of an active young star. Both possibilities are real. Both exist in the same moment, unresolved, waiting for an instrument. Possibilities coexist in a kind of quantum suspension, the world that might harbor life and the world that cannot, superimposed on each other across 4.24 light-years of silence, neither confirmed nor denied, neither living nor definitively dead. Schrödinger's planet, some have called it, borrowing the language of quantum mechanics to describe something that is in truth simply a matter of observational limitation rather than genuine quantum superposition. But the metaphor holds a certain poetry. The answer exists. The reality exists, fully and completely, right now, at this moment, as you breathe and drift and rest. Proxima B is, right now, whatever it is. The uncertainty lives only in us, in the gap between what is and what we can yet perceive. That gap is not a failure. That gap is the frontier. And frontiers, properly understood, are not places of anxiety. They are places of extraordinary, trembling possibility. Every answer humanity has ever found began as exactly this kind of suspended uncertainty, a question held open, a reality not yet perceived, a gap between what is and what we can see. The history of astronomy is the history of that gap closing, slowly, instrument by instrument, generation by generation. Galileo turned a lens toward the sky and the gap closed a little. Hubble turned a great telescope toward a fuzzy patch of light and discovered it was a galaxy, and the gap closed enormously. The James Webb Space Telescope unfolds its golden mirror in the cold dark of space and the gap closes again, a little more, one atmospheric spectrum at a time. We are a species that closes gaps. Slowly. Imperfectly. With tremendous effort and occasional heartbreaking failure and the persistent, irrepressible insistence on trying again. We build instruments and launch them into the void and wait years for them to arrive at their destinations and then wait years more for the data to return, and we parse that data with every tool available to us and we publish our findings and argue about their implications and slowly, painstakingly, the picture clarifies. This is not a fast process. It is not a glamorous process, most of the time. It is the work of lifetimes, of generations, of institutions that must maintain their purpose across decades during which the goal seems perpetually distant. It is, in other words, very much like the journey you are making tonight. Long, patient, taken in the dark, sustained not by the proximity of the destination but by the quality of the traveling itself, by the depth of the attention brought to each moment of the crossing, by the willingness to remain present and open and unhurried across a distance that cannot be rushed and should not be. Proxima Centauri is very close now, in the dreaming geography of this journey. Close enough that its red light has begun to color the dark around you, not dramatically, not with a flood of warmth and brilliance that approaching our own sun would produce, but subtly, The way candlelight colors a room, the way a fire seen from a distance warms the quality of darkness around it without fully displacing it. A reddening, a warming of tone, a shift in the character of the surrounding black from the pure, neutral dark of interstellar space to something with just the faintest blush of color, the faintest suggestion of a nearby source. You are nearly there, and your body is nearly gone, not in any frightening sense, but in the most peaceful sense imaginable. The boundary between you and the dark has dissolved almost entirely now. Your breath is so slow and so deep it barely moves the chest. Your thoughts, if they are still moving at all, have slowed to something barely distinguishable from the silence around them. Wide, slow shapes drifting through a deep interior dark like the largest, most unhurried creatures of the deepest ocean, moving without urgency through water that has never known sunlight, sustained by a warmth that comes from within rather than from above. That is where you are now. That deep, self-sustaining warmth. That place below thought and below worry and below the reaching, striving, effortful surface of a conscious life. That bedrock place where nothing needs to be different from what it is, where nothing needs to be resolved or achieved or understood, where the simple fact of being alive and breathing and present is not just sufficient but is, in the most fundamental sense available to human experience, everything. You have arrived. Not at a destination with coordinates and a name, though the red light of Proxima Centauri is all around you now, warm and dim and ancient, coloring the dark the way the last ember of a fire colors the room long after the flame has settled, not with brilliance, but with presence. With a particular, unhurried warmth of something that has been burning for so long that burning has become simply what it is, inseparable from its nature, as natural and unconsidered as your heartbeat, as your breath. Look at it, if looking is still something you are doing. This small, cool star that has endured for 7 billion years and will endure for 4 trillion more. This dim red lantern at the edge of our cosmic neighborhood, invisible to the naked eye from Earth, unknown to human beings until a Scottish astronomer in South Africa turned his instruments toward the right patch of southern sky in 1915 and noticed something that had been there all along. It is not impressive in the way that massive, brilliant stars are impressive. It will never go supernova. It will never expand into a red giant and swallow its inner worlds. It will simply burn and burn and burn, growing imperceptibly dimmer over unimaginable timescales, so slowly that the change is unmeasurable across a human lifetime or 1,000 human lifetimes. There is a kind of magnificence in that restraint. In choosing, if stars can be said to choose anything, and perhaps in the deepest poetry of physics they can, the long, quiet burning over the short, spectacular conflagration. In being present for the whole of it rather than blazing briefly and beautifully and then collapsing into something dark and dense and final. Proxima Centauri has chosen duration. It has chosen the slow, the steady, the enduring. And in doing so, it has given whatever orbits it, whatever rocky world drifts in its habitable zone, whatever chemistry stirs in whatever ocean may or may not exist there, it has given all of that an extraordinary gift. Time. The one thing that life, wherever it arises, needs more than anything else. More than warmth, more than chemistry, more than the right distance from the right kind of star. Time. The long, uninterrupted, patient accumulation of moments in which complexity can increase, in which chemistry can become biology, in which biology can become awareness, in which awareness can become wonder. Time is the substrate of everything, and Proxima Centauri has it in quantities that our minds cannot hold. And so do you tonight. You have all the time there is. You have this breath, and the next one, and the slow, warm dark that holds you completely and asks nothing. You have the red light of the closest star falling softly across the distance of 4.24 light-years to reach this moment, this breath, this particular point in space and time where you exist, improbable and specific and quietly extraordinary. That light left Proxima Centauri 4 years and nearly 3 months ago. It has been traveling since then, through the cold and the silence and the interstellar dark, and it arrives now, right now, at this moment, at the edge of our solar system, at the edge of your awareness, at the threshold of a sleep so deep and so complete that the boundary between you and the universe has ceased to mean anything at all. Let it go. Let the last edge dissolve. You are the dark and the light and the distance and the stillness. You are the ancient star burning patiently in the void and the breath moving slowly through a body at rest. You are the question and the silence that holds it. You are the crossing and the destination and the vast, unhurried piece of everything that simply is. Sleep now. You are home.